Alright, hi friends. I'm going to show you today how to make a distressed dress. And by the way, thanks for watching. Those of you who don't know, I made costumes for many years, and so one of the things is you always want to try to save fabric. Anything, even a little tiny scrap like this, can go a long way. So what I did, and imagine that this is going to be for like a Day of the Dead character, a dead fairy. It doesn't always have to be dark and black when you're doing haunt and horror. Color shows up. Always ask what your color filters and lights are. If you don't know what color filters and lights are, then you can go ahead and look that up on some books. But you'll see that I have some reflective material back here, and the reason is because under a haunt light, that is going to catch. And in daylight, that's why I'm thinking this could be a fairy too, is that, it's in a nice distressed hole, is that you could wear this for a fairy or a Day of the Dead character, and it wouldn't always have to be black. So one of the things I did is I used a pre-existing garment. This is something that I had from an Indian store. It cost me like $6 or $8 from the Goodwill, because I love the Goodwill. And the rest of this is all pieces that I had. And so I assembled it. I was trying to go for like a fairy look. So when you design something, try to look for things that give you an idea of look like other things. Like, they're called style lines, and that means that they look like one thing even though they aren't. I was trying to do it for a fairy princess kind of look, medieval. Notice it has no waist. And to make it longer, I took another tie-dye t-shirt, and I'm sure we all have these from the 70s. And what I've done is I've attached layers to the back. So I switched the fabric to the back and attached the chiffon layers so that when it's flipped, the chiffon is going to go into the holes. So this is going to create, see the hole? That's going to recreate a reflective look. When you shred something, be really careful that you don't go on holes like cross lines, seam lines, crotch lines, anything that's important, boob lines, anything where it's going to show. Now the rest of this is just little scraps and trim. And now here's for the magic part. Okay, so you take your piece of fabric and you fold it. And then I kind of let it hang. And then I just make little shreds in it. If you hold it and make like a puff and then snip the puff, then you'll end up with a hole. Or and just by this simple treatment and some dye, imagine if we were to dye this nylon different colors before we trimmed it, you can get some really, really interesting effects. Okay? So those are how you distress something. You make little tiny marks, little tiny, hear the fabric ripping? And then that makes the edges raggedy. When you make the edges raggedy, then you add it. In the case of like the sleeves on this, I actually know how sleeves are constructed. So following that base, I kind of filled it in how a sleeve would actually be constructed with a solid piece, and then went back and did the jags. So I think there's a lot of cool things that you can do with this. And let me show you some more of the back where it's shredded. And this is really what's going to make the difference for your haunt characters. The movement. Movement in a gown or movement in a dress, in a dark maze, something flashing by you, it's going to make an impact. I also would maybe suggest I like weird materials like feathers. They look good. You can paint them. They're cheap usually. You know, I want it to look like a bride or a fairy. Maybe I add feathers. Also, something else you can add is found jewelry bits. So Everybody has broken jewelry in their cupboard. I know you do. And you can take any sort of random jewelry, you know, and maybe I put that in the front. It doesn't have to be perfect. Again, haunt costuming doesn't have to be perfect. It's 100 feet. For those of you who don't know, it's 50 to 100 feet is your distance, because of all the darkness. You just want to assume that your costumes are appearing in the dark. So when I'm done with this, I'll go back and distress it with tea, paint, some black overwash, which we can get into another day. And really what you do with that is you take a big paintbrush and then you put the black paint on, and I'm just going to kind of hit the edges. And what this will do is create streaks. And then I go back with another color and hit the other edges where the natural fold is. If you don't have a mannequin, you can always do this on a hanger.